Okay, well, hi. I am excited because I had a dream that had so much detail, that was so vivid, that I recall so much information that was so bizarre that this is probably at the top level of one of my most bizarre dreams I've ever had. It seemed kind of incongruent, and events were taking place that didn't make much sense, that they didn't seem to like match each other. But somehow when I woke up, for some reason I felt like they did match each other. And wow. I'm convinced, I'm 99% certain that this is another world that my consciousness um, quantumly entangled with and made observations of, or some sort of very bizarre astral reality. Either way, I feel it was a very real place and real events. It started off in a desert city. It reminded me somehow of Las Vegas. And I've been to Las Vegas several times, so I know. And it's only 4 hours away from me. And I've had a number of dreams throughout my life in that city, in different dimensions of that city for whatever reasons. Um, This was different though in some ways, in that it looked, instead of concrete and glass, there was more stone structures. So there was a pyramid building that actually looked like a pyramid that you would see in Egypt. It was made out of stone. But the bizarre thing is that it looked modern, as hard as that is to explain. And there was roads and cars and electricity. And other than a lot of stone structures, it looked very modern, like the modern day. And so I go into a place, like a gaming place, which I was at one recently in another desert city. So probably some connection there. And I'm just playing like these games, like all kinds of games. And so I walk out and I go into like this very long bus thingy, this open air bus, electric bus thingy, transporter. And there's these three men that did not look like they matched each other. Like, they did not look like they would be friends in this life. One looked like a worn out, older Native American man, and with long hair and brown skin. And he kind of looked disheveled and almost homeless looking. The other two men that he was with had their suits and their shirts tucked in, and they looked very professional with crew cuts and very military like, with glasses, and they were very clean and perfect. And but all three of them were somehow friends or whatever. So we go onto this bus thingy, and I overhear their conversation. And they're talking about a podcast. They're like, yeah, I was on that podcast recently. I don't remember the name of it. And I'm like, I like kind of like touched them, like, hey, I was on that podcast too, and I've been on other podcasts. And he like I specifically touched the Indian man, and he turns around and he like gives me the most bizarre look ever. And he's just like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah. And then the scene like suddenly and abruptly switches completely. Like I'm in a completely different place. Dark at night, so this was during the day before. But the dark, like the street lights, I was watching the street lights, and they were purple. Like they were purple in color, and everything here was purple. So I was like, I had a bunch of suitcases with me, and there was these tall buildings everywhere, like 8, 10 stories tall apartment looking buildings. And I'm like, go into one, and I'm like completely lost. Everything is like the lighting is so dark and dim and purple. And I'm like, I'm walking around with suitcases and I don't have any pants on or underwear. I don't have, I just have a shirt. And there's like nobody around. And I'm like, I feel like I'm looking for a friend, right? I know who I'm looking for. And I even remembered in the dream that it was somebody I know in this life too. And I'm like trying to find her floor, but I somehow end up in this very dark bathroom. And somebody comes in there. Uh, this like very weird, like tall black man, it looked like. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Where are your pants?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I was just so confused. Like, I didn't know where I was going. And he's like, "Well, you better find out soon or else you gotta get out of here." And I'm like, "Okay." So and then the scene like switches again. Like again, I'm in a completely different setting. And I'm in a big party now with all kinds of. It looked like a children's birthday party, basically. And there was. Oh, it was crazy. It was chaotic. There's this woman there, and she looked like. I'm gonna tell you guys, she looked like my dad's mom, who passed away very young from cancer in her 40s. I know, I know exactly how she looks like, and she looked like her, but she was telling me all this weird stuff about like taxes or something, like how she incorrectly paid taxes and she needs help, and how nobody's helping her and she's upset. I'm like trying to calm her down and tell her that we can get your taxes straight, not to worry about it. Like, you just gotta know what to put down and all that. She was like really distraught about these taxes and this party. Then I go into a room, and there's like a bunch of children like playing games in the room, and they were like really chaotic, like throwing pillows at each other, and they were like trying to wrestle and tackle me, and like it was kind of, it was like just a all around crazy like fun birthday party like setting. And then they're like, let's play hide and seek, and I'm like, nah, I don't really feel like it. And then like I look out the window, and check this out. I look out the window, and then this purple light again everywhere, and this tall building in front of me, and I see someone standing on the balcony. And we're looking at him, and I'm like, you see that guy on the balcony? Ask him to play hide and seek. And they're like, huh? And then out of nowhere, the guy on the balcony falls to his death. He slips from like the eighth floor or something, and he crashes into a van, and he goes through the van, and like all the children are just like shocked. They're just like looking at him, and like, and then after that, it was even like, I was like driving down a highway, like the last scene, and everything was purple again. And there were these like crustacean or insectoid like creatures that were coming onto the highway. And it's almost like they were chasing the car. So it abruptly goes from scene to scene. So You're talking about abrupt changes from I'm seeing this guy crash into the van. Now I'm on a highway, and this is the last part of the dream where I'm seeing these like large lobster and spider like creatures walk on the highway. Yeah. And then there was something else too. Hold on. There was something else. Then the last scene I saw an alligator. This was an alligator, and there was another alligator coming out of that alligator. Um, it was like the movie Aliens, where you had the creature, the tongue that was like alive. So isn't it weird? So you have like this situation where it goes from crustaceans and spider beings, and then the last thing I see is this gator with something coming out of it, almost like it's birthing, but out of the wrong place. Anyway, think about this one.